How many of you are here today because you're interested in a career in sports marketing? Okay, that's a good show of hands. So I'll tell you what, I'm going to speak to the people right now that aren't interested, and I'm going to try to convince them to take a shot at this career, because this is a career that they would absolutely love. It's exhilarating. It's exciting. It's global. When I was in it, my girlfriend, my fiance, she loved the perks. I bought my first home. I bought my first good car. All of my friends were celebrities or current athletes or former athletes. I love flying to South Florida and going to a fine dining steakhouse with the Super Bowl MVP. Loved it. This career is sweet. And what makes it even sweeter is you only need 3 things to be wildly successful within the career. Number 1, you got to have a plan. Number 2, you got to network. And number 3, health. Plan. You got to have a timeline. You have to know your timeline. If you're in sports marketing for more than 5 years, you've overstayed your welcome. It's a young person's game. Simple as that. Also, while you're developing your plan, you have to learn how to create a tangible or intangible asset for yourself. For example, you got to learn how to create marketing plans, or you got to become proficient in event planning, but you have to be able to cultivate some type of asset for yourself while you're in sports marketing. Number 2, networking. The day you sign your sports marketing contract, that's the day you should meet, greet, and speak to everybody you possibly can in the industry. In addition to that, you need to start public speaking right away. High schools, elementary schools, colleges, whatever, start public speaking. Number 3, health. You cannot make decisions in sports marketing while under the influence of intoxicants. We all have different vices. It could be the environment, it could be drugs. We all have different vices, and you know what they are. And while you're under the influence of those vices, you should not make any decisions. Also, you need to read and challenge yourself. You need to broaden your educational scope, because sports marketing is wide, but it's only an inch deep. So you have to purposefully create a depth in your life. Now I'm going to tell you a quick story. I had players sign to Adidas shoe endorsement contracts, and they played for the New England Patriots football team. It was a Friday night, and I had to take a red eye to New England, and I just got this green velour black and white outfit. It was like a casual Adidas jogger, and the only thing the fit needed was a pair of shoes. And my parents have a home right by the Portland airport, so I decided to go there, try on some shoes, get on the plane, and go to New England. So I got there, my promo closet's in the basement, and I went down in there and I found a pair of 3/4 inch high, ice white Adidas shell toe shoes with 3 green stripes. They were sexy. I put on the left shoe, and I had a full length mirror in the basement. I put on the left shoe, and I was like, "Oh man, this is it. This is the right look right here." And sometimes, even when you don't have to, you put on the other shoe and you try on the other side, even though there'll be no difference. But I tried it on anyway. So I stepped into the right shoe, and as soon as I put my foot down, I was like, "Oh, ouch!" There was something inside of the shoe. So I picked up the shoe and I turned the shoe upside down and out fell a crack pipe. Immediately I became enraged because I knew who the pipe belonged to. So I went upstairs to my dad's room. I opened the door and I tossed the crack pipe on the bed. And I said, Dad, this is my job. This is my livelihood. I was on the way to the airport. I can lose my job. Do you understand? And he just looked at me. And he said, that's not mine. I said, okay. You smoke your crack. You smoke your crack because I'm nothing like you and my life is sweet. So go ahead and smoke. Oh, I heard that. I heard somebody up there. No, don't feel sorry for him. Don't feel sorry for him. You see, he retired from the steel mill and he suffered from that phrase. It's called an idle mind is the devil's playground. He had nothing to do. So he turned to drugs and alcohol abuse. But this is a man that also called me college boy, and he wasn't doing it as a compliment. You know, it took me 7 years to get a 4-year degree. And when I graduated, my dad, he didn't even come to my graduation. He said it was more important that somebody watched the dog at home. And when I graduated from law school, I came across the stage and I saw him and I didn't even get a congratulatory hug or a handshake or nothing. He basically looked at me and said, let's get out of here before traffic picks up. I want to go home. So please, whatever you do, don't feel sorry for him. I told him to smoke his crack. I was on my way to New England to do my job, and my life was sweet. And I'm nothing like him. Absolutely not. Nothing like you. And that's what I said to him on my way out the door to the airport to New England to spend time with my guys, and I had a blast. I don't even know why I'm telling you this story. You didn't come here to hear about an old man with addiction issues. You all came here to hear about the rise, the fall, and the death of a sports marketing executive. The rise is always sweet. In 1996, I was a second-year law student, and I landed an internship with the Adidas legal department. And just as I began my internship, the legal counsel became the head of U.S. sports marketing. But he was still working in a legal capacity, so my internship followed him. My first assignment was to research the tortious interference claim that the MLB had against Adidas. You see, Adidas gave the Yankees $100 million in exchange for the use of its name and licensed merchandise and the ability to three-stripe the entire Yankee field, which is an iconic sports marketing property. I concluded after my research that Adidas, in fact, intentionally interfered with the agreement between the MLB and the Yankees. And my boss agreed. He said he already knew that. He already knew the answer. He just wanted to get my legal perspective. And he told me, good job. Not bad for a non-intellectual property guy. A few months later, I was called into a meeting with my boss and the CEO of Adidas, and they explained to me that they were working on finalizing a deal with the NFL, and they asked me to be the new liaison. I accepted, of course. But the problem with that acceptance was I didn't have a plan. I did not have a plan. I went from the legal department to sports marketing overnight. The scope of my employment was to sign as many current NFL players and elite college players as possible to Adidas shoe endorsement contracts. I had no idea what a real sports marketing plan looked like. My boss gave me an Amex card and a travel account and said, get busy. Reebok had product issues with their NFL cleats. And so I developed a strategy of converting Reebok players over to Adidas shoe endorsement contracts. And as Reebok was phasing out of the NFL, I just gave them a little push. And I did that off of sheer will and effort. This strategy helped me gain momentum in signing players, and it also got my name out there that I was actively signing players on behalf of Adidas. I was networking, but I was networking the wrong way. You see, I shared some of the same vices as the guys I was signing, so I was able to find common ground. I love going to clubs. I love hanging out with the ladies, and I love indulging in a little alcohol, a little drinking. This helped me. And to me, it didn't matter. As long as I was winning, as long as I was signing guys in volume, I was able to claim it a win. And on the college side, it was a little different. I kind of viewed it as a domino effect. If I can get one or two of the best collegiate guys, then the rest would fall. And some of the best guys were wearing Nikes. And so I started to pick off a few of the bigger guys at Florida, LSU, Ohio State. I spent 10 years in college, and I was also an ex-college athlete. And so I knew what they liked. And so it was easy to get them. Some came with no enticement. Others came with certain enticements. But it was a rush to sign them. It was an adrenaline rush to get some of those Nike players. And I was good at it. And I was winning. I was getting a few of the guys. But it didn't stop there. It extended to coaches as well. One of the most iconic figures in the NFL was a college coach at a historic football program, and they both were on a contract with Nike. I met with the coach, and he explained to me that he wore Adidas during his playing days and now wanted his program to be with Adidas. He wanted a more personalized relationship. He felt that with Nike, he was only a number. I told him I could deliver, and I did. And Nike agreed to let the program out of the contract, but they were not happy about it. And I went on to sign Doug Williams, Super Bowl MVP, in Grambling State University, which used to be a historic pipeline for the NFL coming out of that college. I signed the school to an all-school sponsorship deal, meaning we covered everything from head to toe, baseball, basketball, football, and also the legendary Grambling State Marching Band. I was winning. And during this time, I had plenty of opportunities to wine and dine with NFL team owners and managers, but I didn't. My focus was on smoozing with the players and the agents. And one day while back at the Adidas headquarters in Oregon, my mentor told me to continue the good work, but I should also be more like Santa Claus in my NFL cities by giving away product. Just like tipping. He just said, give away as much product as you possibly can. And that's what I did. Everywhere I went in my NFL cities, I would give away merchandise. Shoes, socks, t-shirts, hats, you name it. My social currency was through the roof. But I wanted more. I needed a signature project that would put me over the top. I asked myself, what would make the sports marketing world take notice of me? And I said, I got it. I need to sign the best player on the most iconic NFL franchise. That's a Nike branded team. The Raiders. And the Raiders had the best running back in the league at that time, and his name was Napoleon Kaufman. And he came from the University of Washington, which was a Nike school. I made contact with his agent, and I spent time with him and his agent in Oakland, and we connected on a professional and spiritual level. He did not, let me say this again, he did not, for the record, indulge in any of the activities my normal dance was to sign players. He was committed to his family and spirituality. And a major component of the deal was add Napoleon to a major or national Adidas marketing campaign. And at that time, the campaign was called Muscles Make the Best Pads. And we created this giant billboard mural on the side of a downtown Seattle building right in the middle of a Nike city, basically. And it was beautiful. But that didn't stop me from engaging in my usual behavior. I started dating the flight stewardess from the Raiders charter plane. She was an off and on girlfriend of one of the team players. And when he found out that we had a semi-relationship, he got upset. So I went ahead and bowed out gracefully. I didn't want the mess. So I started dating a Raiderette. I was winning. The Raiders had a nationally televised game, and I wanted to support my guy by being on the sidelines. So I sent in a request for a sideline pass, and they sent the request all the way up to Al Davis, the owner, and he approved it on one condition, that I didn't wear any Adidas gear on his sideline. I met him at the game while on the field, but I didn't pursue any networking. My ego was too big. My ego got in the way. My guy was their best player on the franchise that's a Nike branded team, and we're on national TV. And I remember getting a phone call on my cell phone that evening from my boss saying he loved the look. He loved the look. Our stripes were on national television. He loved it. And I just loved the feeling of winning. It was sweet. But the fall, that fall will knock the air out of you. It'll take the breath out of you. That concrete is undefeated. When you fall, it hurts. I had an idea to create brand ambassadors that would accompany me and the athletes when we made public appearances and autograph signings, etc. The ambassadors would be called the Three Stripe Girls, and their job would be just to simply assist the players and crowd control. And the test market was Tampa, Florida. The Buccaneers, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I hooked up with the hottest radio station in the market, and they brought in the biggest club in the market, and the promotion was fire. I brought the players to the club, and there was about 100 women that registered for the event. And all they had to do was state their name and why they would be a good ambassador. And some did just that, and others did more. In the end, it all worked out. We found 3 ambassadors, and the program worked. They assisted and handled crowd control at public outings. It was a perfect promotion. I'm still winning, but not really. I had the players in an unhealthy situation. I had the players in an environment just fueled by alcohol, and we were making decisions under an intoxicant. In the summer of 1999, I was in Tampa, checking in on some of my guys, and I made the acquaintance of a swimsuit model, and we began to hang out. Whenever I was in town for drinks, dancing, dinner, etc. One morning after a night of hanging, we were in my suite and there was a knock on the door, and I told her I was going to jump in the shower. It's probably room service, so please answer the door. I was about to jump in the shower, and she came into the bathroom and she said, "There's a gentleman here to see you." I put on my robe, the fluffy white terry cloth robe. It was too short, but I put it on, and in the living area stood my boss. He said, "You know, I'm having a meeting in the restaurant downstairs, and they told me you were here, so I decided to take a moment to see how my guy is living on the road." I introduced him to my friend and said she was just leaving, and I have to get in the shower so I can go meet with some players in a few. He said, "No worries," and he just left. It was another bad decision for me because the hotel I was staying in was a downtown hotel in Tampa, and in the bottom of the hotel there was a restaurant called Shula's, named after Don Shula, a legendary NFL coach. And a lot of NFL executives would come in town and meet there and have breakfast or lunch or dinner. And that's one of the reasons why I stayed there. I wanted to be in the mix. But I made a bad decision under intoxicants. A few months later, I was working late back at headquarters, and my boss came in my office wearing cowboy boots, jeans, and a Hawaiian shirt buttoned down to his navel. It was a different look for the occasion, but I just kind of went with it. And he said, "Hey, Cheeks, I'm done." And I said, "Wait, what?" He said, "I'm done, I'm resigning." And I said, "Well, who's gonna run the ship?" He said, "I don't know. If you want it, take it." The very next day, I rushed into the CEO's office and asked to speak with him. He did see me, but briefly. I told him what my boss had said to me, and that I'd like to put my name in the hat for consideration of the head of U.S. sports marketing. But he said, in the interim, I'll report directly to the department controller, whom I did not have a good relationship with because he was always scrutinizing my expense reports. He then said, "Let's not talk about that right now. Let's talk about this." And he handed me what appeared to be a 4-page legal complaint of some sort. And he said, "Tell me about this, the 3-Stripe Ambassador Program." I tried to explain, but my words fell on deaf ears. He said one of the women filed a complaint saying she was objectified by the process. And I explained to him that I had proof that the program worked. But he said that because it wasn't approved by legal, it never should have happened. And this was the first time I really felt like I'd just taken a loss. From this point on, everything I did was scrutinized. In November of 1999, during Thanksgiving, I was in New Orleans supporting our sponsorship of Grambling State football and the head coach. It was a nationally televised game. It's the first major holiday since the birth of my son, but duty called. I had to be there. The game went well. I had luxury box suites for the president of Grambling, some Adidas executives, and even the president of the other team, Southern University. It was a good game, good weekend. I flew back to Oregon and arrived early Monday morning to find my office cleaned out, and I had no clue as to why. And in that moment, Frank from the mailroom was passing by, and he asked me what was I doing. Frank explained to me that there had been a massive layoff on Friday before Thanksgiving, and that my name was on the list, and he had to clean out my office. And I immediately ran directly into the controller's office without saying a word. And he just stared at me. And he didn't speak. I set my cell phone and pager on his desk and walked out. It was over. I immediately went home, packed a bag, and I wept the entire way home. I packed a bag and I flew to Tampa. Adidas had a sister hotel partnership with the Radisson. It was owned by the New York Yankees, George Steinbrenner. And I checked myself into a room and I curled up in a ball and I stayed silent and wept for 3 days. I didn't even eat. On the third day, towards the end of the day, I got a knock at the door, and it was the manager, hotel manager, which I knew very well. And he came in and he said, I just want to let you know that I know that you're no longer an employee with Adidas anymore. And your Amex is cut off. I can't imagine what you're going through right now, but I'm trying to give you some space, and I instructed my staff not to bother you. But you're going to have to leave by Monday. All the charges from this point on I will absorb because of our relationship. But I'm sorry, my friend, you're going to have to leave on Monday. I said, thank you. And he gave me a hug and said goodbye. And I stayed there for a week. I never left the room. And I knew it was over. But I wasn't dead yet. Death looks like this. In 2000, after many hours of soul searching and deep contemplation, I began looking for another sports marketing opportunity. Nike had recently posted an opening in the basketball department similar to my former NFL gig. I figured I'd be a final candidate at least, so I applied. And I got a call back and interview. And I met with the managers in the basketball department, and I thought all was going good. I answered all of their questions with my relevant Adidas experience. And then afterwards, I was told that I had one additional interview with the head of U.S. sports marketing. We met, and he provided me with the tour of the campus and an earful of Nike history. Things are good at this point. I'm feeling like I'm winning again. And we returned to his office, and he said, when I heard you applied for this gig, I knew I had to meet you. I wanted to meet the person responsible for stealing my assets, even causing some to break their contracts with me. I said, wait, I was just doing my job. I wasn't in charge. And he replied, your name always seemed to come up. Then he looked at me and said, you'll never work at Nike, and promptly dismissed me. With a big hammer and a nail, he sealed the lid on my marketing coffin. I was officially dead. I lost my home, my fiance, my car, my girlfriend, and I was back in the basement at my parents' house trying to figure it out, trying to work things out with my dad, the man that I'm nothing alike. But what does this mean for you? Sports marketing is an exciting career choice, but without proper planning, networking, and healthy safeguards, you too will falsely claim, I'm winning. Thank you guys for having me. Any questions?